So today's video is going to be an inbox review of the A1H Skyraider from Revell. It's a cool aircraft, strike aircraft that I like. They were used in Korea and Vietnam, and they were really effective for ground attack. Please like and subscribe and ring that bell to get notifications on my new videos. So today we're going to look at this Douglas AH-1H Skyraider. This is an old kit. I don't know how old, but it's at least from the 80s. If not older, I'm not really sure. And it has some cool box art. A really nice picture. That could be put on the wall as a painting. Now I have another kit like this. It's a JU-87D, and I wasn't so impressed with what was inside for the cockpit. It was like totally. It had no detail. Now let's see how this one looks though. And you see we have decals for the instrument panel, for all the instrument panels, so that's at least something. This is the seat, and it looks, so there's not a lot of detail in here either. We have, decals for the instrument panels, a seat, and a stick, and that's it. One more piece here for the interior. Then you go to put the fuselage and everything together. Wings together, you have to drill holes for the ordnance. Here we have the engine, and it has a two-part engine, so it might be okay. We'll look at the parts better in a few minutes. Putting the wings on and some detail here. Not really sure. There's the exhaust. Then we have the landing gear and the doors. Here we start with the pylons and the fuel tank, centerline fuel tank. That's not a centerline. That's a wing fuel tank here. But there's also a pylon that goes in the center. Seems to be a little bit missing there, maybe. Either there's no weapons in it, or there's a page missing. Now it looks like most of the parts are on here. We have the tail hook and we have the propeller. But you can make two versions. This is from the USS Intrepid in Vietnam. This is from the USS Midway in Vietnam, which I might make that one. It's not in any plastic, but even though it's so old, the decals still look pretty good. And this is made from Revell of Germany, printed in Italy. From Cartograph. Cartograph makes pretty good decals. So it doesn't have any underwing stores. It only has the fuel tanks. You can see here there's some lines in the moldings here. I've seen that more than once on these older kits. This unevenness here. fuel tanks look pretty good though. And the pylons look good as well. I think the gear doors look a little thick though. Even being as old as it is, I mean, it's a little scratched on the top, but I think it looks pretty good still. Take a little polishing. I have the sticks for it. The frame looks decent, even though it's also a bit thick. Well, the whole canopy is a little thick, but these old models are all like that. They were more meant to be brush painted, not airbrushed. Airbrushes weren't really popular back then. Of course, it has raised detail and not engraved detail. That's, to me, not such a problem. And here on the wings, you can see the same problems with the molding. These folds, or these, they're not folds. I don't know what they are, but it's where it's a little unevenness in the moldings here. Here's a line. Here's a line. Here's a line. It's going to have to be smoothed out. Some parts are pretty scratched, like here. More molding problems. There's a swirl, molding problem, molding problem. The details look okay, but there's a lot of problems to be worked out. And there's no underwing stores, which is a bit... I want some missiles and bombs and stuff to put on the wings, actually. I think the landing gear looks decent, but there's a lot of flash here on this one. This one, that's the only flash I've seen so far. The wings have done. Here's a bunch. There's some nice detail inside the landing gear base as well. You can see here. And you can see those lines even on this side of the wing too. They go all the way through. But with a little sanding, it should be okay. Maybe it won't even be noticeable when it's painted. You can see, but there's some nice detail here in the landing gear bay. Couple loose parts, which isn't good because the box is, well, the bottom of the box is okay, but the top of the box is broken. Here are the engines. They are not at all very detailed. You just only have the pistons. There's no piston rods or anything else. The tail wheel looks really big. The hook looks good. Just have a flat piece of plastic for the instrument panel. It's a flat piece of plastic. Even though I think the propeller looks decent, but it's going to need some cleanup. There's some flash around it, especially on the ends here. There's some flash on it. Down there. Interior, not a lot of detail at all. It does show a seatbelt here on the seat, on both parts. So there's a molded in seatbelt in it, which is a bit of a surprise actually. A lot of the modern kits don't even have seatbelts, and this old one, they at least molded them into the kit, so you can paint them out at least. I would take a knife or file and go around the edges of it to bring it out a little bit though. The wheels look decent. So I would say it needs interior aftermarket, and it needs an engine, or some detail for the engine, which I can make. Piston rods I can make. Cables I can make. I did that on another aircraft too. And it might be pretty difficult to find any aftermarket for a kit this old. But I will certainly look, and when I find anything, I'll put it in the video like I always do. Underwing stores would be nice too. It needs more. It needs more. It needs some ordnance, not just fuel tanks. Definitely has to have some ordnance on it. This is a strike aircraft. So some GP bombs, something like that. So it's a decent kit for being as old as it is. I think it's a good kit for being as old as it is, actually. Engraved seatbelts are good. Most of the detail is good. It has some problems on the exterior with the fuselage and the wings. It needs interior detail, it needs engine detail, and it needs ordnance. Might actually be cheaper to buy a more expensive kit than buying all the aftermarket for it. But I'll still be building it. And this will be my A1H. Strike aircraft was used a lot in Vietnam. And I believe it was used in Korea as well. I know they started making it in '45. And I think it's pretty good. Pretty good aircraft. Next time we'll be looking at the Semoventi 75/18 M40. It's a big name. It's an Italian vehicle. Now the Italian tanks were pretty terrible. They were okay in North Africa, but even then they were outdated and they were not that great. But this gun motor carriage here is what it is. They were actually pretty good. They did a lot. They did a lot better than the tanks. And it has a 75mm howitzer, and they were also bigger versions of it with the longer guns, and some more anti-tank. But I want to take a look at this. It'll be another Italian vehicle in my collection eventually. And thanks for watching. Until next time.